Hey, my darling, how you doing?
I'm really good. I'm really good. Thank you very much. Some of it is good by absolute commitment to being good, because it's still crazy, isn't it? Still a crazy world, and I think everybody's finding that they need to just be putting in a little bit more effort at the moment to keep things, at a good level. I don't know if that's just me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you completely. I was just saying, wasn't I, before we jumped
Mm,
on, I've been
mm,
feeling so tired.
yeah.
And when you're feeling tired, you sort of lack, for me anyway, I lack that
Mm,
motivation, I lack
mm.
the enthusiasm. But it's amazing what a really good night's sleep can do for you.
Absolutely, and so important for us to remember as entrepreneurs. And the lecture I just gave Emma off air was make sure you don't burn yourself out, because, as we say, she always goes at 200 miles an hour, and that's amazing. And sometimes you do have to go back and have a pit stop, even if it's only how many seconds do Formula One do their pit stop? Just a few seconds to get everything
I don't know.
rebalanced, and then off
Yeah,
again. That's you. You're a Formula One race car. I think it's
there we go.
13
Love
seconds.
that.
13 seconds, which probably does translate to an extra hour's sleep.
Yeah, there we go. Well, I had my sleep last night and I'm feeling on top form today. And I'm
Good.
excited because it's just us today. It's
Yes,
not been just
it is.
us for a little while, has
No,
it?
no, no, no. And what we're talking about today, I really, really resonated with me this week, particularly, and that whole thing we started off here saying that, at the moment it feels like we've got to, be putting a bit more effort in just to keep at our normal good level. So we're talking about reflecting, aren't we? Reflecting on past
Yes,
successes, reflecting on our why, reflecting on what
yes,
we want to create. So yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
definitely. And you were telling me in conversation this week around some strategy that you'd heard from, where
Yes.
was it, Felicity?
It's from Vishen
So let's
Lakhani.
start with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's start with that because that was really interesting and we didn't get into too much.
No,
We didn't
but
get into a conversation on it, so I'd love to hear what you
yeah,
learned
yeah,
there.
definitely. Well, the thing is, isn't it? We talk about this as entrepreneurs. We need to know what is our why, what's our vision for the future. Do we have an avatar for ourselves of who is the woman or man, if you're listening, who you want to grow into? And I've shared a little bit about my avatar, and she's quite a stretch from where I am at the moment, and that's not over facing myself. It's just there's a lot I want to do in the world. So yeah, my avatar is causing me to stretch and grow. But sometimes on a week when I've, like you, felt really shattered for some reason, no reason, just it is what it is. I was feeling that this avatar of mine, this future avatar, was a little bit out of reach, and I was feeling a little bit like, oh, I'm not getting the traction that I want. And
Mm,
then if anyone's not come across Mind Valley, there are tons and tons of free videos by them on YouTube, and they're so
mm,
inspiring. And Vishen Lakhani is the guy that founded it, and he brings together the best speakers from every field from all over the world, and that might be business, so marketing,
mm,
strategy, focus, and then he brings in all the personal development side, he brings in the health and fitness side, and he brings in spiritual growth as well. So I love him for the balance that he brings to us growing and unfolding into our best selves.
mm,
So this strategy he shared was, often we'll look in business, we'll look at the at gap closure, won't we? I'm here and I want to
mm,
get to, so I'd say I'm at A and I want to get to F on
mm,
the alphabet, as an example. And okay, what steps do we need to take to get to F? And that's really valuable, it's really important. But what he
mm.
said is equally important, is to take time out to look at the reverse gap. And what he
Yes.
means like by that was look back over the 5 years, who you were, where you were, and you
Mm,
can look at just your business or you can look at every area and
mm,
see how much you've changed and how much you've grown. So I did
mm,
this exercise, and it was quite a profound wow for me,
mm.
because when I look back, I'm not somebody that really reflects over the past. I'm kind of in the moment and I'm looking where I'm going forward.
We're always
Uh,
moving ahead, aren't we? We tend to not look back
yeah,
so much. Yeah.
yeah, but when I did look back, I looked at where I was 5 years ago, and every single area of my life has I've made progress, and not just a little bit of progress, a huge amount of progress. And I'm so, so grateful for that, because sometimes over the last 5 years, I went through some really tough stuff.
Mm,
And I think that's, part of the reason I don't look back too much, because I don't want to get caught up in any residue emotion around some of the things that happened.
mm,
But it was amazing to look at the amount of growth in my business, in my personal relationships, and the boundaries I've put in place around some
mm,
of those relationships, business ones too, actually, as well.
mm,
And I'm going to just share this little bit, because it's mostly women listening to this podcast. And I've had this conversation this week. We did in Clubhouse Room last night, didn't we, about women that we've got a passion, we've got a vision, we want to contribute, and we give way, way, way too much, and we end up,
mm.
giving from our own resources and getting burnt out.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the areas I learned to put in boundaries over the last 5 years. And it's not in a way of being selfish, but it's just in a way of, I need to put my own oxygen mask on first, so that I can serve my audience, I can serve my friends and families at full capacity, rather than feeling overwhelmed all the
Mm,
time. Or, as what often happens to us as women, is once we've given and given, people just see, oh, well, that's just Felicity. She's easygoing, she's generous, blah, blah, blah. And it becomes the
mm,
norm to them, and they don't even actually
mm,
necessarily recognize it. And then we
mm.
can end up getting resentful, because people aren't,
Yes.
necessarily acknowledging that. Or they can take
Yes.
advantage of us in a work situation, because,
Yeah.
you've always given, and da, da, da. I mean, I've volunteered at events that have really meant a lot to me, and they've added value to the community or to the personal development community. And I love doing that. But one of the things I was aware of even around that was, it was taken for granted a bit. And it's not that I want
Mm,
people to be giving me a pat on the back every 5 minutes and telling me what a superstar I am. It's not that at all. But a little acknowledgement every now and then goes a really long way. So
definitely.
that's,
Definitely.
and the reason, I wanted to focus on that is because that's been quite a topic of conversation for us as women, that we,
Mm,
we're worried about feeling selfish, aren't we, sometimes?
definitely. And I think that whole process of having that sort of drawing a bit of a timeline, I suppose, for
Mm,
your life and reflecting back, because I'm the same as you. Um, there's always this desire and this drive and this desire
mm,
to move forward. So
yeah.
I set my goals and I'm like, right, what's it going to take for me to
Hmm.
achieve them? And I
Hmm.
by brick, I'm laying
Yes.
those bricks and I'm
Yes.
making, building out that path.
Yes.
And sometimes it feels quite uncomfortable to look back over the timeline of your past experiences, because that's not where I want to be.
Yeah, definitely.
That's not
Definitely.
what I want to necessarily reflect on, or not what I don't want to reflect on, but it's not when there's mistakes that I've made that have got me to this point today, so it can feel a
Yeah.
bit uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, I do think this whole process, it's like, it's really important that we prepare ourselves mentally, isn't
Mm,
it, for what we want and what's to come. So
yeah,
reflection, I
indeed.
think, is fabulous. Um,
Definitely. And because we're constantly rushing forward, sometimes we don't celebrate those successes. And that's where I was this week. I was more feeling, come on, Felicity, you should be getting more results than you are right now.
mm,
And
mm,
to go back and look at that, putting the boundaries in, sorry to go back to that again, but it was such a big thing for me, a really big thing.
mm,
Um, so I feel, it's not even proud. I feel grateful that I've had that growth, and that I feel very comfortable most of the time, not all the time, now, to say to people, when I get invited to get involved and collaborate in things, I really appreciate that. Thank you for thinking of me. And it's not something I can prioritize right now, because I've got the
yes,
main thing, and that I need to keep the main
yes,
thing. And
yes,
particularly if it's something that's valuable, and we want to
yeah,
support the person, it's very easy to go, oh, well, it won't take too much time, and then often
mm,
it'll end up taking more time than you expected, and it's harder to extricate
mm,
yourself, isn't it? So yeah,
mm,
yeah, I'm really grateful for that exercise. It helped me to, what's the word, not just reflect, but really refocus, reset myself and think, yeah, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, this is what I want to achieve. And I've already come so far in what was a difficult few years. So by the laws of compound growth, if I keep carrying on and going, then it's only going to get better and better. And of course I am going to carry on going, because that's where life is really fulfilling, isn't it? The areas where we grow, even though sometimes it's challenging. But to stay and stagnate in the same place is slow death, isn't it?
Definitely. And also I think with self-reflection, it gives you clarity, doesn't it? It gives you clarity
Absolutely.
on
Yes, that's the
where
word I
you
was looking
are.
for, Emma. Thank you.
Yeah. It gives you clarity on where you are, what it is that you want, what it is that you don't want, like you say, because you look back and you go, okay, that bit, that's got me to this point today, but that's something that's a route that I don't want to take. Like you said, someone,
Definitely.
invites you to collaborate, or they bring a proposal your way. And it's important to have that reflection, but I definitely think it does give you a clarity and a vision for where it is that you're going, and how it is that you can move
Absolutely.
forward.
Absolutely. Go on.
So what does he literally just get you to reflect back? Does he have a particular structure of doing it, or does he just
No,
say,
he just
put
says,
yourself?
yeah,
Yeah,
he's a look back,
yeah.
5 years. It could be 10 years if you wanted to do that. I thought that might be
Mm,
a bit, I didn't want to go back 10 years. But 5 years, look at the areas, look at how you've grown in your business, look at
mm,
your, finances, whether that's personal or business. Well, it'll overlap anyway, won't it? How have you grown emotionally? Are you more
mm,
emotionally intelligent?
mm,
What's your spiritual path been? Have you grown in that area? And if you
mm,
have, and then what are the benefits of this growth?
mm,
So as I said, I shared the putting boundaries in place. That was one of the personal areas of growth. And also attached to that is actually growing in compassion as
mm,
well. Another emotional intelligence, because sometimes, and our old kind of model is, if someone has done something to us that, and they aren't in any way remorseful, you just cut them out of your lives, and screw them. And the old model is, either we want to get revenge or we want to prove people wrong. But I've learned to grow in compassion a lot. I mean, I had some issues with my mum, who died this year, and the last 3 years of our relationship before she died were the best that we've ever had. And I won't go into any boring details, but there was a there was a lot of stuff there. I mean, she could be spiteful and malicious, and there have been many times when people have just cut her off, just don't have anything more to do with her. But that doesn't sit with who I am.
no.
And even in business relationships, where if you've been an entrepreneur for any period of time, you'll have situations where people have let you down,
Mm,
or worst case scenario, betrayed your trust. And
mm,
you can be all bitter and twisted about that and guarded, so you don't see opportunities moving forward. Or you can step back from it, think, okay, what have I learned from this, so I'm not going to repeat the same
mm,
patterns that got me into that problem. And then emotional intelligence, if you can learn, and it can take a period of time sometimes, to forgive that person and
let
let
it
it go,
go.
and look at
Yeah,
them with compassion, in that
yeah,
their behavior might have been outrageous, but they're just doing the best they can with what they've got right now. Maybe they've
yeah,
got
love
healing
that.
that they haven't dealt,
Yeah,
they haven't,
yeah.
you know. And for me, it's not being saintly or anything like that, but it just means
Mm.
that it's helped me clean up.
Yeah, I
So,
don't know. We take it so personally, don't we?
well, we do, because it's a survival thing, isn't it? This
Mm,
person
mm,
has, let's talk about it like from a primal thing. This person has wounded me or tried to kill me, taken away
mm,
my resources. Therefore, I need to protect myself so that that
mm,
doesn't
mm.
happen again. And if I get a chance to kill them before they kill me, I'll do that. And that's
I'll
just our
do that.
real
Yeah.
primal instincts, isn't it? Of, survival
Mm,
of the fittest. But actually, we are more evolved than that. We're not living in a cave with a saber-toothed tiger outside the door, and the tribe across the valley, if they get the food, we all starve.
mm,
But we still run that a lot of the time, don't we? For
we do.
me, developing the practice of compassion has just made me feel just so much more at peace and free of
Yes.
stuff in the past. And I think,
Yes.
in any area of life, business, personal relationships, it's really important to be clean so you can deal with what's happening now. Does that
Yes,
make sense,
definitely.
Em?
Makes so much sense. Yeah.
Mm.
I think that's the case. If we can get into the, feel that compassion, sort of get into the heart and sort of step away
Mm.
from the ego, if
Yes,
you
yes,
like,
yes.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Sort of stepping
nicely
away
said.
from the ego, sitting into your heart and actually just reflecting,
Yeah.
and you don't need to work it out. I was going to
No.
say you understand it. You don't even really need to understand it. You just need to acknowledge it, become
Yeah.
aware of it,
Yeah, absolutely.
and then in a way sort of accept it, and then let it go, because when we reflect back, we can't change what's been done,
No,
can we?
absolutely, absolutely.
And I do think, I mean, for me, I love to journal. I love
Yeah.
journaling, and making notes in my journal. And in fact, something that have been using more so recently, which I find brilliant, is an app. It's a journaling app, and it's called Day One Journal, and it's basically an app where you can capture everything. If you're going out for a walk and you want to take a picture, I sometimes it's quite nice for gratitude. If you're out walking and you want to take a
Lovely.
photo,
Yeah.
or for me, if I'm listening to an audible, which I do when I'm walking Winnie,
Yeah.
and something said, what I tend to do is I'll stop the audible, I'll go onto my notes, I'll make a note on my notes, I'll go back to the audible, and it just, leaves me out of sync, where I can literally just click on this app whilst I'm listening to my audible, and I can type things down. So it's a fantastic app.
Oh,
Their tagline is actually "Capture life as you live it," which I think is
very
really, really quite
nice.
nice.
Very nice. We'll have to put that in the footnotes, for the.
Yeah, we will. And I just think journaling's great anyway for self-improvement, isn't it? And reflecting is great for self-improvement, because we can look back and we can think about
Yeah.
we've struggled with, or maybe
Yeah.
something may come up with regards to a skill set that we want to develop, that we feel we didn't have in the
Yes.
past.
Definitely.
So we're going, actually, I feel like I could have managed that situation better had I have adopted this skill or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's really important, and as what we're all about is that mental fitness, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And really understanding how that side of things work. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
And for our businesses as well, it's like one of the things that I realized over this last 5 years is, I started off in doing corporate trade. Well, I did coaching, but I did corporate training, and often going into training, taking training into corporates, it's more of a tick box exercise than anything. It's like, okay, we get, you can write training off against tax. We say that we're going to support our people by developing them, so we put them on these training programs, and often they don't really go into any more detail than that. And when I was an associate, some of the training programs I was asked to deliver weren't actually a fit for the client. Nobody had bothered to scratch the surface to find out what their real needs were. They'd spoken to the sales department, and the sales department's priority is to sell. So that was a big learning for me, and distinction I made, that I really wanted to add value to my clients, and I couldn't really do it within those environments because it wasn't a match. So, and I'd been nervous about looking for my own clients and generating my own work off my own back. But when I started to do it, the work came in. It was much better quality. I was in alignment with my clients. They had the same values, and I was being paid a lot more as well.
Yeah.
So it was, sometimes that's a really good thing to reflect on as well. Am I being true to my values and to what I really want to deliver? Because
becoming intentional.
because we'll stay safe sometimes, and I completely get that. And this is the whole thing around starting Crossroads Cafe, isn't it? To support women that are thinking about pivoting and want to maybe start their own business, but might be thinking, oh, really? Oh, can I do it? Isn't it safer to stay where we are, particularly during pandemic? But for me, when I've made those big, scary decisions, I've never regretted them. Sometimes it's taken me a little bit of time to get traction, but it's always been so worthwhile, because if you're not in alignment with your inner compass, your soul, whatever you want to call it, then you're going to be, to a degree, either slightly unhappy or miserable until you do make that alignment. Because, you know, putting a fish up a tree and expecting it to act like a bird is not ever going to work. And, you know, vice versa, putting a bird in the ocean and expecting it to behave like a fish,
not going to happen.
Not going to happen. So we just need to make sure we're in the right environment so that we can not only thrive ourselves, but to really bring our gifts and our value to that area.
Yeah. And actually, we haven't spoken about, as of yet, about the workbook that we've created. So
No.
to all you lovely listeners, we have a quick start guide. And we have a website now, so you can jump over to the website, which is crossroadscafe.biz, BIZ. And Felicity and myself, we put a quick start guide together. And that's really been based on the conversations that we've been having with the business owners, business women, entrepreneurs that we've had on the show, and just hearing their stories. And if you are listening to episode after episode, you will hear the same stories being shared, and the same sort of habits that these women, these successful entrepreneurs adopt, that leads them to success within their business. Absolutely. So we decided to pull that all together into a quick start guide that's going to help you and support you in taking action towards your business goals. It's a very simple step-by-step formula, and it's very actionable. So there's there's downloads, and there's tasks, there's like worksheets that you can actually complete and fill out. So it acts more like a workbook, doesn't it, than a guide as such.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, repetition is what creates success, isn't it? It's just the same as if you go to the gym or learn to drive a car or learn an instrument. Initially, you're thinking about everything, and you're thinking, okay, I've got to do this, and this is difficult. And then gradually we build the muscle, and it becomes second nature, and particularly in the, you know, helps us to stay resilient, doesn't it? Helps us to focus on what's going to move us forward, rather than getting caught up in all the outside, just white noise. Sometimes it's drama, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's legitimate life stuff, but it helps us keep focused and stay on track. So
definitely. And it's normally that
creating that, didn't we?
We loved it, and it's that initial step that's always the hardest. We were talking about this, wasn't we, last night in the clubhouse room. It's taking that initial step and moving towards whatever it is that you want to achieve. There was a lovely lady that was in our room last night, and she was at a bit of a crossroads as to how to reignite a business that she'd sort of closed down however many years ago. And we were talking about this because sometimes we do tend to take the easy path, don't we?
Path of least resistance.
Path of least, that's it. The path of least resistance, because it's easier. It doesn't fill us with as much fear, and it sits a bit more comfortably with where we're at. But we were having a conversation with her, and we were talking about actually when you don't do that and you step in to the discomfort, and actually you do the thing that's the toughest thing to do initially, the results that you're going to get in the long term are going to be far greater than if you do take the easy road.
Absolutely.
So it's about go on. I was going to say
I'll have to edit that bit out. Never mind. Go on, Emma. Finish what you're saying, my lovely.
That's all right. So I can't remember now. You go.
Oh, so well, hopefully it'll come back to you. So I was going to say, it goes back to that very famous book, Eat the Frog, isn't it? So do that tough stuff first. That book's by Brian Tracy. Do that tough stuff, because we've all done it. We're almost like small children. When you do something that's really you didn't want to do and is really tough, when you master it. I caught myself yesterday. I finally managed to master a piece of technology I've been faffing about with a couple of weeks, and I was like a 5-year-old. I was like, oh, look at me, I did it at last, yay. And I thought,
celebrate. Celebrate the small wins.
Indeed, but if I'd done that earlier, I would have gained the momentum to, you know, and again, there's no right, well, there's no, sometimes we just go the longer route. As long as we get there in the end, it doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's learning these things, isn't it? So have you remembered
Yeah.
what I interrupted you?
No, you didn't. I think I might have interrupted you initially. No, I was just reflecting back on the guide, because everything that's in
Mm,
there really does support you in that way. And it
mm.
talks you through that process. It talks
Yeah.
about, being authentic, building the
Yes.
confidence and the
Yes.
self-belief.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
something you touched on, which was the community. So the people
Mm,
that you're in contact with, the
mm,
people that
mm.
you're engaging with, they have a massive impact on where it is that you want to go, and your success.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
it's important that you're aware of all this
Yeah.
kind of stuff,
Yeah.
because then you start off understanding the steps you need to take. And they're not always easy steps.
No.
They're not always easy steps, but at least
No.
you're aware of them, and you can start planning your route,
Yes. Absolutely.
planning your route to success, and you know what it is that you need to
Yeah.
be doing.
Absolutely.
Clarity.
It's like Elon Musk. I've used this quote so many times because it really, says it all.
Mm,
Being an entrepreneur is like chewing glass and staring into the void at
mm,
times, but
mm,
it's so, so fulfilling as well, because you
mm.
get to bring your products and services into the world in the way that you want to do it, so that you know that
Definitely.
you're, really looking after your clients and adding value. And it's that same thing again. If you're an entrepreneur and you have an entrepreneur's heart, if you're in a business that is quite innovative and embraces that and will support you with that, that's absolutely brilliant. You don't
Mm,
have to go off and start your own business. But if you're an entrepreneur and you're stuck in an old model of
mm,
business where you're supposed to, fit into the old way of working, which is often still very hierarchical, and you've got to
mm,
do this and this at this time and that, you end up doing an awful lot of stuff during your day that actually
mm,
there's not a massive amount of value in.
mm.
And for an entrepreneur, that's really just so hard, isn't it? It is like that expecting a fish to climb a tree thing.
Mm,
It's
mm,
just it's a different way of looking at the world,
mm.
and looking at business. So yes, it's really important that you get round people that are on the same wavelength. And if we, physically we can't do it at the moment. Zoom, yes, we can, but there are so many
Mm.
great communities out there.
Definitely. Mm,
There's, Tony Robbins' community online. There's Mind Valley, which is Vishen Lakhani's community online. There's so many
mm.
great rooms on Clubhouse. So
And groups on Facebook, social
yeah,
media,
definitely.
it's there
We
available.
can
And
find our tribe, can't we?
definitely, and it can be tough. Well, it is tough. We're not going to lie, it is tough, and it can be quite lonely, and it can be scary. But whenever I sit in that place, if I'm
Mm.
ever at a point and I know there's something that I need to accomplish or achieve,
Mhm.
or like you, with when it comes to the technology side of things, I'm getting frustrated with something, um, and it starts to, I start to get that feeling of anxiety, and a bit like, oh God, can I do
Mhm,
this? And that
mhm,
kind of feeling creeps in. I always think, well, what's scarier? Either me overcoming this fear and tackling it,
yes.
or me in 20, 30, 40 years' time looking back and thinking, why didn't you just keep trying?
Yeah,
What's scarier for me?
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's what's scarier for me, actually, the regret
Definitely,
of the fact that
definitely.
I had this belief that I could achieve something,
Yeah,
and I gave up on myself.
yeah,
You
yeah,
should
yeah.
never give up on yourself. If you've
Never,
really
never.
got a desire,
Mm, mm,
to do something, and there's that inner voice that tells you, you're able for this, or
mm,
a
mm.
vision, a purpose, whatever it is, you have to keep working towards it. You should never give
Absolutely,
up on it.
absolutely, absolutely. And when, like I said, when I finally aligned with, okay, I need to work with people with the same values, then it actually got easier. It's like,
Yes,
I
definitely.
started to attract the people that,
Yeah,
valued my skills and input and my perspective. But I
yeah,
hadn't given them space to come in before that, because I was sort of like, oh, well, I need to stay in this role because it's paying the bills and blah, 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 even though I'm
yes.
miserable.
Even
And
though I
it's,
hate it.
yeah,
Yeah. And you hear
yes.
that a lot. People are just doing what they're doing, because it
Mm,
covers and pays the bills. And,
mm.
it may, they can enjoy maybe a holiday a year, or something like
Yeah,
that. But when it comes down to it, are they really happy? Are they really enjoying and fulfilled? That's the
yeah,
word, fulfilled. Are they fulfilled
yes,
with what they're doing? And if they're
yes,
not feeling fulfilled, you're going to go through the rest of your life feeling like that,
yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
to pay the
Absolutely.
bills, because you'll work it out, and you do work it out. You know, initially it may be that you have to tighten the belt a little bit in other areas,
Mm.
but you feel so much more fulfilled in what you're doing, and it's so much more purposeful, isn't it? That's what drives you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what drives you to keep going.
In all the ups and downs of the last 11 years that I've been running the business, and some of it, in the beginning, and I've mentioned this as well in other podcasts, because I was doing it all on my own, it took me an awful lot longer to get to where I am now, I think, because I didn't have people to encourage me. I didn't have people to kind of help me right at the beginning and say, Felicity, don't go down that route, because that's not going to work. Um, so, but even with all of that, I have no regrets. I love
No.
what I do. I love
Yes.
supporting people to, kind of come into the best version of themselves in their business lives, but also, that you can't do that in your business life without doing it in your personal life either. So yeah,
Definitely.
it's a privilege and it's a gift, and I love it. So
Definitely. And I just want to finish on that. I think there's so many women, they don't feel like they're enough. I know this was a
mm,
massive one for me, and there
mm,
are still times when this goes through my head, where I
mm,
think,
mm,
am I able for this? You know, if I'm presented with something new and I think, shit, this is scaring the life out of me, am I able to do this?
mm, mm, mm.
But I think it's really important that we remind ourselves that we are enough. We are
Absolutely.
enough. And
Absolutely.
one of the best ways to be able to really underpin that, and recognize that, I believe, is through reflection, is
Yeah,
through reflecting back
totally.
over your past
Totally.
and looking at the experiences that you've had, looking at all the shit that you've overcome in
Yeah.
your life,
Yeah.
and actually going, I am enough.
Yeah.
I am able for
Yeah.
this.
Absolutely.
And I think when you sit with that and you realize that you are enough, that's
Yeah.
when everything that's
Yeah.
when everything
Yeah.
unfolds.
Yeah. And Emma, you're extraordinary. I know, and I am one of your biggest fans, because you just, and then I know it's a really important thing to be a role model to your three girls. And that's the most important job on the planet, isn't it? Bring the
Yeah.
next generation of leaders, which they'll have,
Yeah.
that bringing in this new perspective of the world. But you're extraordinary. Never ever doubt that you're enough, because you inspire me every day.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. And you. Back at you. Back
Mm,
at you, girlfriend.
mm, mm, mm. Oh.
Right. Well, on that note, let's finish off. Let's
But
go and pour
yes,
ourselves a cuppa
yeah, 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 and get on with our day. So
and get
it's
on with our
always
day.
lovely to hang out with you, my dear. And yeah, see you on the next Crossroads Cafe.
All right, my darling. Have a lovely week. Take care. See you
And you.
soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.